Hello there, gamers and board game geeks. I'm coming at you with another Game Den review after somewhat of several months, almost a year of releasing my last video. Axis and Allies WWI is a very unique game. Even though it still has a basic system of turn style that Axis and Allies does have, this World War I version adds a lot of new things that are unique to this game. It includes not as many pieces as you would think. The amount of pieces that each country gets is actually very limited. Some have as little as like 30, whereas others may have upwards of 60. But no one nation has like a ton like you'd see in Axis and Allies. Instead, they all rely on little discs. Board is really massive, and all it is just one giant map of Europe and Africa. Now, it is kind of weird and will take you quite a bit to get used to. But it's just a funky map design, in my opinion. But other than that, it's decent. I mean, everything's kind of like convoluted. Like, this is Africa. There's Africa right there. Like, just why? You couldn't have made it any better? I mean, the map's not too big. I mean, we're not talking Axis and Allies 1942 big here. We're talking closer to maybe 1.5 risks boards width-wise. It's an interesting board, and it'll take it'll take a little bit to get used to, just because of the way things are shaped. I mean, over in the Middle East, it just looks like someone laid their arm on the map almost and said, "Yeah, that looks like Turkey." You know, board is kind of funky. That's one of the main issues I have with this game. The rule book is very thin, and don't think that you can skip this if you know how to play Axis and Allies. If you don't know how to play Axis and Allies World War I, you're going to need to read the rulebook, because there's a lot of different rules. Like shipyards, battleships do not get repaired even after a battle. You have to go to a shipport. There's mines involved. There's air support that you can use. Artillery affect the battle. And battle only lasts one round. There's one round where both players roll the dice, and that's it. That's it, then it starts back up the next turn. Each turn is supposed to resemble 1 year in the war. Yeah. So by turn 4, there will be tanks, America will be in the war, and if certain conditions are met, Russia would have collapsed into a civil war, and Russia will be kicked out of the war. And so Germany will not have them to face. The amount of dice is pretty incredible. They're really small, so be careful you do not lose them. There's about like 30 of these, if not more. These are the counters. The blue represents the Allies. You have blue and dark blue. Dark blue resembling 5, and blue resembling 1. Same with the reds. This is the central powers. Light red symbolizing 1, and dark red symbolizing 5. So that's that. So like with all Axis and Allies games, there's always the unique infantry. Now with this game, there is no unique artillery, and the ships all look the same, as do the aircraft. They all look exactly the same. Now, with this game doesn't come with any sort of currency. So you'll either have to keep track of it on paper, or you can keep track of it. In fact, I highly recommend you should keep track of it on paper, because this can lead to tons of confusion. On the board, there's a thing in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I'm sure you saw it. Let me pull it up again. This, right there, is how you keep track of the production. You have your 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You put one counter on this to resemble how much they're making in the 10s, and then one counter here to resemble how much they're making in the 1s. Kind of weird and funky, and can cause quite a few issues when you're reaching over and you're trying to grab something over in, I don't know, Britain, and then you accidentally drop your arm, and oh, now it's all messed up. Now you have to count up all the territories, and oh, well, that's all horrible. When a territory is contested, meaning that there's a battle going on, but it's not currently in the battle stage. For example, like if I move 5 troops into some territory that has a few troops of few French troops, and by the end of the first round of combat, both sides roll the dice once, no one owns the territory still, and we still have troops in the territory, both of us still have troops in the territory. It is now contested, and you cannot earn money from contested territories. You cannot count it towards your income. And there's different ports. They're marked with anchors on the territory. I don't know if you can see that. I lost access to a camera. Well, I didn't lose access. I don't know where it is, so I can't have a camera right here zooming in on all this, so I'm stuck with one for now. But there's a harbor right here, port, and these ports are where you repair battleships. It's free, you don't have to pay any money, you just have to be there. Or where mines are, so that if an enemy fleet moves into there, and the territory is not controlled by the enemy's own troops, they have to roll dice to see if their ships get hit. 1 dice for every ship. I think it's a roll of 1, and they get hit. They strike a mine, which is a very unique feature, and is one of the things that shine out about this game is the mines. Now, battle is quite interesting. So you have all your troops set up, and you don't take them off the board and you put them on here. You count up the dice. So you count your troops. Like I have. This would be a small battle. I have like 5 infantry. So I go to this board here, and there's different little tabs here. So I'm the attacker, so I'd be on this half. So I have 5 infantry. So I have 5 attacking infantry. I put them right there. Without any artillery support. But I do have 2 artillery. So now I can move up to 2 infantry over to infantry with artillery support. So now they roll on a 3 or less. The infantry without artillery support roll on a 2 or less, and the artillery roll on a 3 or less. If I have an aircraft in the battle, you do a dogfight pretty much. Both sides roll their dice, and a roll of 1 or 2 removes the other enemy's planes, the other side's planes. All surviving fighters can then commence strafing. You roll the dice, 1 or 2 removes one enemy ground troop, which cannot fire back. Then for every aircraft that you have, you can move up 1 artillery to this last box, which is artillery with air support. This will make it so that it can roll on a 4 or less. This does not give the infantry any boost at all. They stay at 3 or less. So tanks are not available until round 4, and when they are available, they give you quite a big boost. Tanks with artillery support get a roll of 3, and attacking tanks get a roll of 2. And they roll 2 dice. 4. They can only move 1 territory, so there's no blitzing like in normal Axis and Allies. Now, a very unique feature on this, another unique feature, is mobilizing minor powers. So, for example, Portugal and Belgium up here, they can both be mobilized by France. So if France moves in there, they mobilize, or if an enemy of France goes in there, they mobilize. France will mobilize their troops there. So when you mobilize a minor power, you double the number of the IPC value, and then all but one of those units will be infantry, and the last unit will be artillery. What this does is this sort of creates you could actually conquer the whole map of Europe playing this game. The whole thing. If the Allies control Berlin and one other Central Power capital at the end of the Ottomans' turn, the Allies win. If the Central Powers control either Paris or France or Washington, D.C., as well as another Allied capital at the end of the United States' turn, the Central Powers will win. So, at the end of turn 4, if certain conditions are met, Russia will go into a Russian Revolution and be out of the game. Sort of suddenly become neutral as like a giant neutral power. Which is really helpful for Germany if the game is actually going into turn 4, because by then the United States is at war, and you're losing more men on the Western Front than you can actually replace, and so you need the extra men coming in from Russia. So it'll actually set up a nice little situation like in real life, like what happened in real life. What's really cool about this game is that it does go historically quite a lot. Does go the historical route. This game is a really good game and very unique in a lot of different aspects, but it does have its issues in a very long game, and it can get rather boring sometimes with the way that it goes, because sometimes you won't be able to push forward. All your men, you'll just be constantly doing the same thing each turn, buying troops and falling them into the same battle, and maybe adding a little bit of strategy, trying to maneuver them so that you start to pressure this battle more, so that maybe they'll break in this one. I mean, that can be a little bit of fun, but if you're doing that constantly, it can get very, very repetitive and very, very boring. So, as much of a good idea as this game is on paper, it doesn't execute properly in-game, and does have quite a few map issues with the design and disorientation in that map. I'm going to give this game about 6 out of 10 stars. It is a really good game and has a very good theme to it and is very well executed in certain fields, but it ultimately fails at several big points, with the map design being very disoriented when you go into Africa and it looking rather ugly when you get into the Middle East and Turkey. And that battles, in my opinion, take too long. It'd make more sense if you did 3 rounds of combat, then it was over, or 2 rounds. But 1 round makes the game last way longer than it actually should, and makes the game very boring and repetitive, because it's just this weird, boring, almost, I'm just doing this over and over and over again, can we just have a fast forward button please where I can just speed through this, because it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again, and we won't see a break in the front lines till turn 10, and I have to go by turn 5, and now we can't finish the game. I have had that happen several times, and it's very annoying because I want to finish this game. I don't think I've ever finished a game of Axis and Allies World War I. I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where America was actually doing anything in this game. I think the longest I played this game was up to turn 6. And by then, the game was still at a stalemate. No one was doing anything. Russia had collapsed, but Germany still wasn't breaking through against France. France still wasn't defending properly. Italy was kind of collapsing. The Ottomans were kind of failing against the British, but nothing was happening in any major way. And it was getting very annoying.